Have you ever noticed how some people act like their own birthday doesn't exist? They don't tell anyone, don't make plans, don't celebrate. And when someone finds out and asks why they didn't say anything, the answer comes quick. Oh, it's just another day. But is it really? Or is there something deeper happening behind this indifference that isn't quite so indifferent after all? The truth is, nobody is born thinking their own birthday is irrelevant. Kids love birthdays. They count down the days, want cake, want attention, want to feel like that day is special because they are special. But then life happens, and gradually, some people learn that it's safer not to expect anything than to expect and be disappointed again. That it's less painful to pretend it doesn't matter than to admit it does and discover that nobody cared about you. This behavior doesn't come from maturity, as many try to justify. It comes from protection. It's the psyche creating a shield against disappointment. Because at some point, maybe several times, that day that should have been special was forgotten, ignored, or simply treated like any other day. And the pain of that was so sharp that the unconscious decided, never again. If I don't give it importance, it won't hurt when others don't either. Carl Jung said that many of our adult behaviors are attempts to avoid old pains that were never processed. And that's exactly what's happening here. The person who treats their birthday as just another day isn't detached. They're protecting themselves from reliving that feeling of invisibility, of not being a priority, of realizing that nobody remembered. There's a specific wound that causes this, the feeling of not being worthy of celebration. It might have come from a childhood where your parents were too busy, where there wasn't money for parties, where your siblings had celebrations but you didn't, where someone said, "That's silly," when you showed excitement. Each of these experiences was engraving the same message. You don't deserve to have the world pause for you, not even for one day. And when you grow up hearing this, whether in words or in actions, you internalize it. It becomes that voice that says, "I don't want to bother anyone. You don't need to do anything for me. I don't even care about these things." But underneath this layer of forced detachment exists a child who still wants to feel that they matter, who wants to wake up and have someone say, "I'm glad you were born." Another pattern that feeds this behavior is the fear of asking and not receiving. When you assume your birthday is important, you're even silently expecting the people around you to recognize that. And that expectation is dangerous, because if nobody does anything, the pain isn't just about the ignored day. It's about what that confirms, that you're not as important as you thought, that people don't care as much as you'd like. So it becomes easier to anticipate the indifference, to say you don't care before someone shows they don't care either. It's a mechanism of emotional self-preservation. You reject yourself first so you don't feel the rejection coming from outside. But this has a cost, because by doing this, you deprive yourself of the possibility of being surprised, of discovering that there are people who do care, of living that simple but profound moment of feeling seen. There are also those people who always organize parties for others, but never for themselves. They're the first to remember everyone's birthday, to make surprises, to put effort into gifts. But when their day comes, silence. And when someone asks why they didn't mention it, they say, "Oh, I forgot." But nobody forgets their own birthday. What happens is that they're so used to taking care of others that they can't even imagine someone taking care of them. It's as if they've internalized the role of the giver, never the receiver. This pattern usually comes from those who learned early that their value was in being useful, in pleasing, in being available to everyone, and that when they weren't doing something for others, they didn't deserve attention. So even on their own birthday, the person puts themselves second, because being the center, even for a few hours, feels wrong, feels selfish. But it's not. Everyone needs to feel, from time to time, that their existence matters, that the world would be different if you weren't here. And the birthday is symbolically that day, the day you arrived, and your presence in the world deserves, yes, to be recognized. Now, what to do with all this? How to get out of that place where you pretend not to care but inside it still hurts? First, you need to be honest with yourself. Do you really not like celebrating your birthday, or would you like your day to be special? You don't need to tell anyone yet. Just recognize this internally, because as long as you deny the desire, you'll keep sabotaging yourself. Second, stop expecting others to read your mind. If you want someone to know, speak up. It can be a "next week is my birthday" thrown naturally into conversation. This isn't being needy. It's giving the opportunity for those who care to show it. Because people aren't telepathic, and often they'd like to do something but don't know you want them to. Third, do something for yourself. It doesn't have to be big. It can be a cake you love, a whole day doing what brings you joy, a gift you give yourself. Because celebrating your existence doesn't depend on an audience. It starts with you recognizing your own value. And when you do this, you're saying to that inner child, "I see you. I know you matter, and I'm going to celebrate you even if nobody else does. And if someone disappoints you again, it will hurt, but at least you'll know you tried, that you didn't hide, and that the other person's indifference says more about them than about you. Because you already did your part. You recognize that you deserve it, and that alone changes everything. Treating your birthday as just another day is a wound disguised as indifference. And you don't need to carry that anymore. You can start small, but start. Because you deserve to feel at least once a year that you're important, that you arrived, that you stayed, and that this, by itself, is already worth everything.